think food can be symbolic of a person's identity, and at the core of my journey, my identity begins with a ramen egg. Soy sauce, sake, mirin, sugar, and green onions. Eggs boiled for 6 minutes and 45 seconds. A recipe, a routine perfected over 7 years of working at my mother's ramen shop, where I discovered the very first thing I was ever really good at: peeling eggs. I was 2 when I moved to Australia on my mum's back. She held my sisters in each hand, and this was the first memory I have. I was 3 when my mum and I cried as we waved goodbye to my sisters at the departures as they left to Japan with my dad, not knowing the next time we saw each other would be in another 15 years. I'm 4 when my mum starts to rebuild our lives after my sisters leave. In a country where she barely spoke the language, with no qualifications and no degree, she started with what she knew, which was food. And so began her journey to becoming a chef. I was 12 when my mum started her first business, a ramen shop, and it was my first job at 13 peeling eggs, which at 19 led to me being scouted to work on my second job ever at YSL. At 20 I moved to Melbourne, and amidst building my dream life, I developed chronic insomnia. 4 months before I turned 21, another sleepless night, in that liminal space between night and early morning, I had an idea. And an idea became an obsession. Namiki, a name paying homage to 3 siblings, Natsuko, Michiko, Yuki, and the city of my childhood in Japan. Imagine every single one of your interests, loves, and hobbies colliding and collapsing into one single tangible idea. That's what Namiki was for me. It was art, fashion, music. It was family in all its shades of complicated yet unconditional love. Its roots in a culture I was born into and given shape by my love for food, hospitality, and culinary, a gift shared and given to me by my mother. But the thing with dreams, ideas, potential, is that they're all empty shells of promises waiting to be fulfilled, if not by you, then by someone else, and you're simply left with a bitter taste of regret. So the question I asked myself wasn't, how could I achieve this dream? Because I think any dream is achievable. It was committing to the journey of achieving this dream that was difficult. So how could I go all in? How could I be sure I would stay committed? I gave myself no plan B, just plan A. I gave myself no fallback, so I didn't and couldn't have the excuse to fall back, even if I wanted to. And that for me involved sacrifice. So the year I turned 21, I call my dad about this idea I couldn't get out of my head. He tells me to quit uni. So I do the next day. And 2 weeks later, one Hinge date. Cold pizza and talks of New York City dreams in a rusty white van. I fall in love. I fall in love for a second time that year, this time not with a person, but with this whole new world that I'd entered when I began my first job as a chef de partie at my favorite restaurant. And a few months later, I put my very own dish onto the menu. 2 months before my 22nd birthday, I break up with the person I love. I'm 22 in January, and in February, I say goodbye to a life I built and loved. I quit my jobs, and I'm on a plane with a one-way ticket to Japan. Sacrifice, I learned, is an acquired taste, bitter. But I also learned that dessert tastes so much sweeter because of it. And bitter also softens and mellows things out too sour or too salty. This is simply the beginning, the appetizer, if you will, of the very long course that is my journey to achieving my dream. And on that one-way flight to Japan, I had my very first meal of this journey I was embarking on. A bento. My mum had woken up 2 hours before everyone else to make me. When you grow up with immigrant parents who you've never heard say, "I love you" or "I'm proud of you," you know that those words and so much more are packed into each thoughtfully seasoned dish. And wedged in between the karage and lotus root tempura was a ramen egg.